Hello? Can you hear me? Have I done this correctly? These are the eternal questions for me. Somebody, anybody say something. Hello, Internet. I'm not Allison, I'm Heather. I'm filling in for Allison. Yay! That's good news. I remembered to do all the things. Um, we're winning. Is hear and see. That is really excellent. Allison is still with the customer, so I am taking over for her. And tonight I am actually going to make a sample for her for a class that she's teaching coming up. I don't know when though. So I'm not going to teach what I'm doing tonight. I'm just going to do it.
It's an in-person class.
Oh, it's an in-person class. That's even better. So we're not doing it online. So this is knotting on leather with pearls. And so I'm going to do a necklace because I think I can do that quickly enough. And I got time. So I'm going to actually begin this with a cord end. And I don't always do that. I've got 1.5 meter or 1.5 millimeter leather. I have a little over a meter of 1.5 millimeter leather. And I'm going to use cord ends and a toggle clasp for this. I'm going to put a bunch of assorted large hole pearls on it because who doesn't love some good pearls? And large hole pearls are really fun to play with. So I'm going to make kind of a fall-ish assortment and pretend that it's a reasonable temperature for fall because it's not. We might get that for Thanksgiving. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to start with a cord end simply because it's going to be easier for me to do it that way. And that may not be how Allison's going to teach it, but that's definitely how I'm going to do it. It's also going to give me a better idea of how much length I'm going to need on the other end to conserve when I put on my cord end. So normally I would not start with the cord end, I'd start with the knotting. But in this case, I'm going to start with the cord end. So I am using, oh, that's right. Well, that ours is after my birthday. And I am going to go see sports ball that day instead of, yeah. So I'm happy early Thanksgiving, and I can't wait to hear what you eat because it's always good stuff, Lori. So tonight, instead of using fold over cord ends, I'm using crimp ends, which means that they have a little, it's a Heather. Yes, I am doing the freeform tonight. I am not Allison, but I am going to do the best I can to be me instead. Hello, hello. So this is totally not in focus in any way. There, well, there. Now I got it. It's choosing what to focus on. So this is a crimp cord end, which means there's a little bit in the middle that you squish to hold things together. So I'm going to put this on the leather, and I'm going to use my fingers to kind of move it so the leather is not sticking out the end, so I can just sort of hold it in place. And instead of chain nose pliers, I'm actually going to use my round nose pliers for this. These are also known as needle nose pliers. They have a nice conical tip to them, and that means they're nice and skinny. So I'm going to use that to squish this middle bit. I'm going to gently squish from multiple directions until nothing moves. I'm going to do a little tug test to make sure nothing moves. The reason I'm gently squishing from multiple directions is because it is a conical tip, which means that I'm squishing one side more than I'm squishing the other one. So if I go back and forth, then it evens out, so it's more evenly squished. The reason I'm doing it gently is because cord ends and hand strength do not always mix well. If you have a cord end and you think you know how squishy it's going to be, but then it isn't as resistant as you think, you can really do a number on both the cord end and the leather and like cut the end off essentially and make it unusable. And that's not ideal. No one wants unusable cord ends or unusable leather. So gently is always a smart way to start. You don't have to, you can add some stank if it turns out that you were right about the resistance, la résistance. But if you don't need to put quite that much effort into it, then don't. It's better for you, it's better for the cord end. So because I have a cord end, I am going to put a bead on, and I'm going to see whether I like how it sits next to the cord end or whether I want to tie a knot in between. I think I actually want to tie a knot in between. So I'm going to tie an overhand knot, and I'm just going to use my fingers to place it up near the cord end so I don't go too crazy. Yes, I like that much better, because then it doesn't look like a stick coming out of my bead, which is a little bit of a weird look. So because I am doing a sample, and because I like to be efficient and I want to hear about y'all's day, I am going to take the time to pre-string my pearls. So I'm gonna, pardon me, string up some pearls while you all tell me how your day's gone and what you think about life and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to knot it the fast way. And I think in the class they're going to do a bracelet, but I'm going to do a necklace because I'm extra. Hope that's okay, Allison.
That you're extra? Of course.
So we had 0 big birthday parties here at the store, which was amazing. I like not big birthday parties. Big birthday parties are also good because they bring us money and they are generally hilarious, but we haven't trained. We're all way out of the practice and physical rigor needed for that many humans all at once, and then you have to run around the table. Nice. Jalapenos from the garden always have so much richer flavor, it feels like. I don't have a garden, but that's what I hear. And that's what 11 jars, that's amazing. Lori, one of these days when we threaten to come up there, we're actually going to do it, and you're going to be so shocked and dismayed when suddenly there are these people you've never met but recognize at your door, because we do have your address. That was dangerous to give us. What did you do today, Corvus? Anything? Got to see an in-person Rita today, which was amazing. You won't be dismayed, but you will feed us. That sounds terrible. We'll be right there. Now's the time to drive because there's no snow yet. All right, let's see how far I get with this length of... Wow, you have a frost warning in effect. It's September! I am so jealous. All right, so I am knotting the way that we like to do in the store, where we pre-string our beads and then we tie our knots. So I'm not trying too hard to get the knots way up, squished close to the bead, and the reason for that with the pearls is the larger the cord. Yeah, we're knotting. The larger the cord you're using, and this being 1.5 millimeter leather, it's pretty large and in charge. The larger the cord you're using, the more forgiveness you have in your placement. So I can have my knots touching my beads, which hopefully you can see there. Yeah, right, Keiko? So you can have your knots touching your beads, but you don't have to have them really, really tight. And the reason you don't have to have them really, really tight is because they're going to look the same. And if they're really, really tight, then it's just going to, these are not very regular pearls, but even if they were, it would be wonkety. It's not easy to get leather and pearls to lay as nicely with as normal knotted pearls if you are going too tight. Oh man, I want 47 degrees. We're like twice that. Literally. I've changed my weather app to Celsius so I can get more used to using it, because I have so many international friends now. Oh, I learned a new fact. So I thought that India was the only place that was offset from the hour and time. Like, aren't they pretty? I know. I mean, look at this. How could you not find 1,000 that you want? They're just beautiful. I feel fall on the inside, just not on the outside. Oh, pierogies. But anyway, I thought that India was the only place that was offset by half an hour. So, you know, everyone else is on the even hour, and then India is half an hour. But yeah, the half-hour offset. You do that in Canada too? Really? Is it? It's not everywhere in Canada, is it? Or is it? I know the reasoning behind it in India. Well, I mean, Keiko, that's a side benefit, but what happens more often is that I just side-eye my app, and I'm like, this is, you're telling lies. Just on the East Coast, okay. Oh, that does explain, like Prince Edward Island, that kind of area. Is that correct, or is that just my brain pulling up a fact that is a defect? Could be either, really. I mean, these things happen to me. So, hello, Mary. There's no such thing as too late, as long as you're here while we're still here. Another reason, if you are using, yeah, Newfoundland, definitely. Sorry, there's a sneeze in there.
Yes, you, because I'm tight. Salut.
Just trying to stick the sneeze in there.
Did I scare it?
It worked. So the other reason not to try to get your knot completely tight up to your pearl, if you're using tweezers, is that most tweezers have too fine a point to squeeze really hard on the leather. It might damage the leather, and it is very likely to make your tweezers start to look like this. So I do have multiple pairs of tweezers, because I do a lot of knotting with big cords, because I like all sizes of beads, and I like since I like to work with the fiber, sometimes I really want to see the fiber. So there are definitely multiple pairs of these that I have where they are now only for big cord. But anyway, Iran is also half an hour offset because we have a new person in my alliance in the game. And he said reset is at 3:30 a.m. for him. I was like, are you in India? Because I didn't look up what time reset for me is at 7 p.m. So it's coming up. So I didn't look up what time it would be in India, but Iran is also half an hour offset. So he's in Tehran. So new facts. Who knew? Time just becomes more meaningless the more I talk about it. It's crazy. And really, I could do this without the tweezers at all. I'm just so used to knotting with tweezers, it feels a little funny without. But especially since this is coated leather, you'll notice that I am tightening the knot and then just taking the tweezers out before I tighten it with my fingers. Because I don't want to scrape the tweezers on the leather, thereby taking off the coating in that spot. I'm so glad large hole beads became a thing and I don't have to drill things because I'm not supposed to drill things because the dust is bad for me. In case you are one of the few people out there in our group who may have not heard why I did not become a geologist, I found out during lab. Yes. Yeah, Labrador is an island. But the reason I have not become a geologist is because I learned in lab that I am allergic to rock dust. It gives me migraines and asthma attacks, and just being sick all the time was not actually the healthiest choice, for lack of a better word, but wisest. It was, you know, all bad choices, really. Newfoundland and Labrador. And I love Newfies and Labradors, so. I like Labradorite. I like Labrador dogs. I like... Well, okay, so Keiko in India, what they did was they had 2 time zones, so they just split the difference and made them all the same time. Not sure why in Iran. I did not ask Reza why his country did that. It just seemed like maybe... That's an excellent guess. It is. Thank you, Mary. I think it's probably good for me that I wasn't a geologist because I talk to more people now, and as much as I don't love people, but I love persons a lot, and I don't want to start talking to them, but once I do start, it's awesome, if that makes sense. Surely that makes sense to someone. So yeah, I've got this fun necklace going. I'll probably need a few more pearls, but I'm glad I didn't string a whole bunch because we are very quickly getting to what I would call a normal length. Thank you. I mean, of course you do, Triplet. Kind of like the momentum of talking to people is a thing. There's the inertia before you start the talking, and then once I start talking, it's hard to make me stop sometimes. And this is also why sometimes I bring things to make to a party, because if I'm not sure I'm going to know enough people at the party to start a conversation or join a conversation and be okay, then what I can do is I can sit down somewhere and I can make something and I can say, oh yeah, I have to do this for work, which is sometimes true, but not all the time. But people will come to me and they will start talking to me, and then sometimes I will stop doing the thing and talk to them about whatever. But I'm bad at starting conversations. Okay, time to take my slip knot out. So, fun fact, I taught knotting on, when was it? Tuesday, Wednesday? I think it was Tuesday. To a lovely pair of ladies who were both knitters, and it was awesome teaching knotting to knitters because the way we were doing it, you needed to do a slip knot. Yes, exactly, Mary. Thank you. And sometimes if I miss that sweet spot, I also can't start a conversation because I'm too busy just sitting and vibing with probably the dog if I found one. So, yeah. But they always love me. Knotting to knitters, exactly. But part of what we have to do in order to get that particular technique to work is you have to tie a slip knot. And we have a funny story about Allison teaching crochet, and you have to start with slip knot for crochet as well. And it took about 2/3 of the class for everyone to get the slip knot, which is not actually ideal because then there's not a whole lot of time left for the rest of the project. So the fact that I didn't have to teach them to tie a slip knot first was awesome. They were like, a slip knot, I know how to do that. I mean, Corvus is not wrong.
Corvus is never wrong.
If Corvus is ever wrong, it's simply because she misheard, and it's the best thing ever. So, we all win whether Corvus is right or wrong, actually. Yeah, slip knot is not that hard, but like a lot of knots, it is easy to accidentally make it a lot harder than it needs to be. So, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself because life's too short. Exactly. The more hobbies you know, the easier each one is. So to tie a slip knot, just since I'm talking about it, you make a loop, and then instead of pulling the end through the loop, you pull the middle of the remaining piece through the loop. So you've made a loop with a knot at the base of it, and it's called a slip knot because it slips out of knot position pretty easily. They're definitely not as warm as Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, Labrador is mainland, got it. Newfoundland's the island. So,
Right now.
okay. Now I can picture it in my head. Just so much drop knowledge on the stream today. That's awesome. I'm going to do a couple more knots. I wasn't talking about the band, Corvus. I mean, honestly, my students might have known Slipknot because there are some pretty... Oh, got it. Okay. There are some pretty rockin' knitters out there. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Slipknots are a super useful knot to know. I still love that way back in the day when I was just a wee lass of probably 3, maybe 3.5, because I think it might have been 3.5 because it was after my brother was born, but it was over the summer, so I wasn't 4 yet. And my daddy taught me how to whistle and tie knots in the same day. And it was a big day. I mean, those are some pretty good skills right there. So, would highly recommend. You don't have to learn how to do them both in one day, because most adult brains are not quite as spongy as child brains. All right, so I'm running out of leather because I only got enough to do a short necklace. When you are embarking upon a knotting project, you want to make sure that you start with at least 3 times the finished length that you want. If you want a longer piece, the longer it gets, the higher that multiplication should be. So if you are, for a random example that has nothing to do with my past and trauma that I may have incurred at the hands of a project, if you're knotting 5 feet of tiny green sapphire rondelles, definitely do 4 times the finished length in the cord that you want, not 3 times, because 3 times is not enough. 3.5 times would probably have been enough, but at that point, again, completely hypothetical, but yeah, it's all right. So now I am done with my knotting. Yay! Look, it's cool. 3 times, not enough. Ah! So I am going to cut my leather, and I'm just going to base the length I cut it to on the cord end. So I'm holding it up next to the cord end just to get my length. So then I can just shove my cord end in place. Have my wicked way with it. Or something like that. I probably won't have my wicked way with it, you know. All right, so I got that. I'm going to, again, gently squish the middle of my cord end from multiple directions with my round nose pliers until I'm sure that's not going to pop off the end, because you definitely want to know now if you need to add more stank. So when knotting a necklace, you want 3 to 4 times the finished length. So I wanted about 16 inches of knotting, but these are pretty big beads. So when you are tying fewer knots, you need less cord. When you're tying more knots, like if you're knotting 3mm green sapphire rondelles and 5 feet of them, you're going to tie a lot of knots, a lot of them, a whole lot. Yes, the smaller the beads, the more cord you need, and the longer the piece, the more cord you might need. Now, so that's why when we use the Griffin silk, which is pre-packaged, so you get 2 meters of silk in a package, which is about 6.5 feet, and that means that you can rest assured that you can get at least 24 inches out of your lots of knots. Yes, hi Sharon. You can get at least 2 feet out of your Griffin silk. Usually it's pretty easy to get 3 feet. I've even gotten 40 inches out of a Griffin silk, but it depends on how many beads and the size of the cord, because if the cord is smaller, it takes less length of the cord to make a knot, if that makes sense. If the cord is bigger, then it takes a lot more of the cord to make a knot. So it's a balance of the size of the cord, meaning the size of the holes in the beads, and the size of the beads. And the moral of the story is always bet on the safe side, because if you have cord left over, oh no, you have cord left over. Maybe even enough for another project, which isn't the worst. So don't short yourself, because it's just not worth your sanity and having to redo your project. So I got 4 feet of the leather to start with, because I wanted to do about 16 inches. This is longer than 16 inches. And I still had a little bit of cord left, but this is not enough cord if you're doing traditional knotting method to finish. So because it was leather, I was able to get away with it. But it's also because it was leather that it ate up so much cord, because again, when you tie a knot in leather, so this piece is, let's just do a quick test because I'm curious now. This piece is, I'm going to cut it off at 3 inches so we can see how much change there is. So this is 3 inches. If I tie a knot in the cord, it is now 2¼ inches long. So it eats up cord pretty quickly. That's 3/4 of an inch in one knot. And granted, I could tighten it a little bit more, but that is about how tight I would want it to be. So, you know, things to keep in mind when you're doing a knotting project. So now I have cord ends on. I have everything knotted. I am now going to grab jump rings, and I left my other pair of pliers over in my chair, which means I'm just using my hands for the other side. This is much easier if you have 2 pairs of pliers or if you have a whole lot of hand strength. And you can also use the clasp itself as a little bit of leverage. You want to close your jump ring so you cannot get a fingernail in the space. So I've got one end on, and just because it's good to do a reality check with a toggle, especially because if the toggle bar will not go into the loop, you need more rings in between your toggle bar and your terminus of your project. So that's why I usually do the bar first, so I can put it on and then test it. Now that goes, hello. So I knew that was going to work because I've got this big stick of a cord end here. But If it didn't, want to know now. And in fact, it would have been a smart idea to do that at the beginning, but I knew it was going to work, so didn't matter that much. So now I've got the other end I need to put on. Alright. And there you have it, a finished knotted pearl necklace on leather. Could also be a wrap bracelet. For a small person, it might wrap 3 times. But I think it's fun. What do you think? I like it. I love the colors. Looks very fall, which I'm totally feeling, but only when I immerse myself in air conditioning. When does summer end? And why do the fall allergies come when I'm still miserably hot? All right, any questions, anyone? Thank you. I love the colors too. Any questions? Because I knotted on a coated metallic burgundy leather to kind of bring out the deeper tones. But this would have looked good on a whole lot of different colors. You could do a lot of different. That's the other thing that's great about knotting is you can play with color so much with the fiber you choose. And you don't have to match your beads. You have permission. You have my permission to just knot on absolutely whatever color you want. It's pretty great, actually. You can just do that. Decide, hey, I want to knot these white pearls not on white. I want to knot them on vibrant coral and have just a tiny little pop of color of vibrant coral in there. It's really fun. So yes, knotting is wonderful. It's one of my favorite things to do, so I will do it at any opportunity. When Allison was like, hey, you want to knot something? I'm like, yeah. It was a really tough sell, let me tell you. So no more questions? I'm done. That was quick because, once again, knotting with leather is really fast and awesome. So I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful evening and rest of your weekend. It was so good to see so many of you here tonight. I'm sorry you didn't get to see Allison except when she said hi. But you got to see me instead. I'm Heather. I'm here from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We are a brick and mortar bead store, and we are still open for business. Not right now, but, you know, in most of the life. We're open again on Tuesday at 1, and we will be back here on twitchtv.com/beadingdream on Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. with some kind of tutorial that Allison has planned. I don't know what it is. It's a mystery to both of us because October is tomorrow, and that means a new month. And I've been having, y'all, I forgot what day it was all week. It's not Friday right now. It's Saturday, right? I think so. Yeah, it's been rough. Just time and this whole spoopy tutorials. Yeah, she'll do definitely some and put a little spoopy twist on some other more normal tutorials as well, I think. So thank you all so much for being here with us. We love you all. We can't wait to see you again. And next week, a week from tonight, should be Zoom Crafty Cocktail Hour. So if you would like to be included in our Zoom Crafty Cocktail Hour mailing list, just send us a message at beadingdreamsdallas@gmail.com. You can also, can someone put up Discord? You can also message us on Discord, and that link is there. And that's it. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you again really soon. Bye.